The Two and Out CFL podcast with Travis Currah and Sheldon Jones starts now.
And we're getting you ready for week 11 of the 2025 CFL season. And Sheldon Jones, we just did the math before the show. Two and Out officially over 500,000 downloads / views between the audio and the video version of the podcast. That's pretty darn cool.
That's very cool. I'm happy to be part of it.
We used to joke that it was Two and Out Hamlet or Village. We're a pretty solid sized city.
Two and Out Metropolis.
Yeah. Like there's, the greater Two and Out area is like 500,000 people. That's pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
Big enough to have a Krispy Kreme, and we could bring Bonanza back, and we could have a Fuddruckers. Man. Maybe combine them all into one so I can have a bowl of cottage cheese and a Krispy Kreme donut at the same time. I'm off the rails.
That sounds like heaven. That sounds like heaven.
I don't know what it was about the Bonanza.
In the cottage cheese. Okay, let's go.
The Bonanza salad bar. I don't know why I would load up on cottage cheese and baked beans.
Yeah, we can do that as adults, and it's actually good protein in cottage cheese. You just
see.
I like cottage cheese
with some black pepper.
Just take a spoon. Oh yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
I just put it in the container, mix it all up, and then take spoonfuls every now and then. It's good
stuff, man. Good stuff. All right, we're moving into week 11 of the CFL season. The Calgary Stampeders are on bye right now. We're coming off a week 10 where I think the total point differential between the 4 games was 9 points, and the TV ratings, Sheldon, are off the charts. Like over 800,000 people watching the Alouettes and Elks game on Friday Night Football. That's bananas.
It is, and arguably that was probably like the worst game of the week, and it got the highest rate. I guess people were really clamoring for that Cody versus McLeod Bethel Thompson matchup. I don't think we'll see much of McLeod Bethel Thompson anymore.
I kind of wonder. I don't know, how will this dictate the schedule going forward? I almost would rather like a doubleheader on Friday and Saturday kind of thing. I know you like Thursday night football, and I do like Sundays. I'm one of those people, and I'm sure most of the people that listen to the pod, they don't care. It's like when the games are on, we'll watch the games. But that's pretty massive for Friday night either way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If they're getting that many views, then maybe that is the way to go. You got to kind of go with whatever is going to get you the most exposure. That's what this league needs. So whatever works, we're going to watch the games, and we're going to have fun doing so.
One of the things I've actually enjoyed this season is the officiating. And it seems like they're just making these hard decisions. They'll watch it at game speed, and if it's not clear and obvious, they're kind of just letting it go. Sometimes there's a little bit of inconsistencies, and we're kind of questioning what's a catch or what's pass interference. But I think overall, the refs have done a pretty darn good job this year, and there hasn't been too many things off the top of my head that's like decided games, which is, I think, what we all want. And this year, they've renewed the partnership with the National Football League. Getting CFL and NFL officials working together. 2 crews of 7 CFL refs are going to take part in NFL training camp joint practices, actually beginning Wednesday, the day that we're recording this right now. And, our guys up here, they're basically doing it for the love of the game. I've talked to a few of the refs at Grey Cups after the ref Grey Cup party. They've asked me not to share some of the photos online. They don't want to be seen as biased in any way. But these guys, the amount that they give to the game so they can go forward with solid officiating, it's actually incredible. I think if people only knew how that these refs get treated by fans, that they've got jobs on the side, and how much they're scrutinized, I think it would open a lot of eyes. But they're continually trying to improve the officials that we have, and I think they've got a lot to keep track of, and they're doing a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was pretty critical of officials back in the day until I kind of, got the hint that they're just, this is a part-time gig for them, and most of them do it just because they love it, and they take time away from their careers and their families every weekend during the CFL season to do this, and yeah, it's a very thankless job, but I agree. I think it's been pretty good. There has been some consistency with hits to the head on the quarterback, I think, are kind of frustrating sometimes, but at the same time, it's not really, I don't want to see ticky-tack penalties, but when they get called, you want to see consistency. But I think they've done a phenomenal job, actually. And Andre Proulx still does not get the love he deserves, so we will continue to stand for that man all the time.
Yep. I 100% agree. Week 11 starts at Princess Auto Stadium. I think last week I called it IG Field and I called it Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton. Let's try to figure out what I'm doing here. But the Bombers, 5.5-point favorites over the Ottawa RedBlacks. Now, this is the same Ottawa RedBlacks that popped 46 on the Argos last week. The same Ottawa RedBlacks that had Drew Brown throw for 5 touchdowns against the same Bomber team that's been giving up passing yards like nobody's business, man. The last 3 games, 943 passing yards against, 6 touchdowns. 2 of those were Nick Arbuckle. One of them was Vernon Adams Jr. They've had 1 interception in that stretch, and now their starting safety, Jamal Parker, is out. Rookie safety Cam Allen to start. Starting cornerback Terrell Bonds out for the Bombers. He did note on his Instagram that it looks like it's going to be for the season. Trey Vavel, who's been returning kicks for the Bombers, is going to be in at corner for the Bombers. It does seem like the secondary, it gets more and more banged up, more inexperienced. It does feel like the RedBlacks offense could feast here. I know they got a game plan for number 5, Willie Jefferson. James Vaughter on the D-line can create some havoc too. But I just feel like the RedBlacks could come into Winnipeg and get themselves a win here.
Yeah, I think we all know that this is not the same Bombers team, and they've been struggling, and even last year they started out like 2-6 or whatever it was, and so I think it's easy for us to just assume that maybe they're going to do that, but they've been struggling, and it's been with and without Zach Collaros, and they've actually done a little bit better when I think Chris Streffler's been in there, so. Something's got to give here. They have to figure out, because they're on their 10th straight sellout. Their fans are coming out, and their fans are showing up for them because of all the winning that they have been doing in the past, 5-6 years. So, but Ottawa, they're coming in hot. They played their lives, I guess for Bob Dice's life, they've won 2 games in a row for him when a lot of us kind of speculated that he might be fired. So. This could be a really good game, and I completely understand how you can kind of think that maybe Ottawa is able to pull this off, even being 5-point underdogs.
Now the Bombers here, they're 4-4, like you said. Last year at this time, 3-6, still made it to the Grey Cup. This year, what was interesting is that last year the defense struggled out of the gate, and then they put it together as the season went on. This year the defense actually started good, and then they kind of fell apart, and we are here where we are now. Last year it also took a while for Brady Oliveira to get into the end zone. He hasn't been into the end zone yet this season, despite having 100 receiving yards last week. And Winnipeg is still doing it right, man, off the field. 10th straight sellout. The Banjo Bowl next month is sold out. What an incredible run for that organization. I do think right now the model franchise in the Canadian Football League, the envy of the league. So that's going to be a struggle for Drew Brown, a quarterback for the RedBlacks. Who knows what it's like to play in front of that Winnipeg faithful, because that's where he spent the first 3 years of his CFL career. Last year, he made his season debut against the Bombers. 20 of 33, 238 yards, and a touchdown was his debut. But now we look at the receiving core, and I just see here, man, Justin Hardy, a big 100-yard game last week. Braylon Addison had a 100-yard game. And now we're going to have a rookie cornerback covering Geno Lewis. If the RedBlacks, Tommy Condell and that offense don't try to take advantage of that matchup early and often, I don't know what they're doing. It feels like Trey Vavel, he might have number 87 in his kitchen early in this game.
Oh, for sure. And they can even throw misdirection, because we still didn't mention Pimpleton too, right? So they have so many weapons, and it could turn out to be like a situation where when you're trying, like in Hamilton, when you're trying to cover Kenny Lawler, and then Keandre Smith and Tim White and Bridges, all these guys are just open, right? So it's going to be tough on Val there. I know he's kind of been pretty popular with his returning. He's done a good job, and now let's see how far fast he can run backwards, I guess, covering guys like Geno Lewis.
How much does that change your game if you're returning kicks and then you got to get... Well, I guess if he's returning kicks, the offense is on. So maybe that's... unless he returns a touchdown, then he'd have to... Maybe he should go down at the 3 or something like that. Give him a couple plays off before he has to get out there on defense. The RedBlacks, they're banged up too. Amari Henderson has been in the secondary. He spent a few years with Saskatchewan, and he's made some plays for the RedBlacks this year. Got his first career interception. It does appear he's done for the year with a torn ACL, and they do have a few game time decisions here. CFL veteran Cleon Lang on the D-line. He's a game time decision. Bennett Williams, Keelan White, the rookie receiver. Game time decision. We're going to see Gavin Heslop start at cornerback here. So I've been playing with my fantasy lineup a lot. I think it could be a nice Nick Dembski game. I think it's always a chance to be a big Brady Oliveira game. I think Ottawa up front can be very physical, so that is going to be definitely a matchup to watch. I do think you can move the ball on Ottawa's defense. This is a fascinating matchup on Thursday night. I think it's going to be an entertaining way to start Week 11 anyway.
Yeah, I think it's going to just continue the fireworks that we had this last season. Just from everything that you kind of just said there, it just points to this being an offensive shootout with both teams having targets on offense and, maybe having some holes that might allow for a lot of explosion plays and the like. So I hope that's what we get. Let's get another 70, 80 point game, and let's get those fans on their feet.
How many knockdowns for Big Willie Jefferson over under at 1.5, Sheldon?
Well, I was going to set it at like 6.9. I think he's hitting the over on that for sure.
At least 2?
Oh yeah.
All right. I think he's had at least a couple. It's ridiculous what he's doing.
It's like, yeah, he's Willie Jefferson. There's nothing else we can say. That guy is crazy.
Yeah, he's different.
He's built different.
I mean that as a compliment. Number 5. Friday night football. Are the Elks, the Friday night team, 3-point favorites over the Toronto Argonauts. The over-under set at 53.5. I don't know. Maybe I'm hyping this up too much. I see this one has the chance of being another high-scoring game. Just look, like Nick Arbuckle, he's been playing good football. I mean, he had great totals and, a great game against the RedBlacks. He had a couple great games against the Bombers, won one of them. And the Elks defense, they can be susceptible to the big play through the air. And DeMonte Coxey, you know that the game he had last week, he's going to want to have a rebound effort. He's still, near the top of the CFL when it comes to targets. Nick Arbuckle, a former Edmonton Elk, not the best of times when he was in Edmonton, but it's desperation time for the Argos. And, last week was a big one against the RedBlacks. A few people thought that one could decide the paths going forward for either team. And I think we're going to really see here what the Argos and the Elks are made of. Are they going to string 2 wins in a row together? But I see this one where both quarterbacks can have some more success on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said about Arbuckle, he's playing really great. I don't think he doesn't have any kind of worry that, Chad Kelly's going to come back and take the job from him, because we don't think that's going to happen now. So I think that's helping him play a little bit better. And then Cody Fajardo, same thing. Like he's been anointed the starter, and it's pretty undeniable that he's made the Elks more of a contender when it comes to the games that they're playing in than Trey Ford was able to. So like you said, I see firepower here. I am kind of worried about the Toronto Argonauts, though, if I'm being honest. Do you think that they're starting to is Dinwiddie losing them? Do you think? Because he's kind of going off in these pressers, and now he's cut some people. I don't know. He's won 2 Grey Cups out of 3 years. So it's easy for us to say, maybe he's not a good coach, because I think it's pretty clear he is a good coach, but questionable tactics right now for motivating his players, in my opinion.
He's always been, at least I think as a head coach, a little rough around the edges. Mm-hmm. And that's worked.
We've seen it work with Don Matthews and with Chris Jones to an extent. Sometimes Kent Austin had success with that. So certainly it can happen. It's just I just releasing Kalen Lieber, I don't know how that helps the team. It's not like he was really hurting the team, I don't think. But I think there's. He said that there's no dogs in this team, and there's pretenders, and that's pretty tough criticism from your head coach there.
Yeah, those are pretty strong words. I mean, you do like to see some emotion from the coach. I wonder if it's a little much. I just think that they sustained too much losses in the offseason, and it happened 2 years in a row. A couple of years ago, they had a lot of guys that left. They were able to bring some more in. They went into the depth, especially on the D line, but then those guys also left in the offseason. But you also, don't you have to look at why these guys are leaving? Now, a lot of it does have to do with pay. Yep. I know there's not as much loyalty in pro sports, and why should there be? Teams can cut guys left and right, but is there a reason why they want out? More than just for the paycheck. However, there's a scout that left the Argos named Vince Magri, who went to scout for the Buffalo Bills in the middle of last year. And I think that's really been a big loss for the team. He shared assistant GM duties with the Argos, and now he's with the Buffalo Bills. So I think that's a pretty significant loss for the organization, and maybe we're seeing those effects already with the team. And I should mention DeMonte Coxey, he's questionable. He's dealing with a shoulder issue, so he's in my lineup right now. I'm going to be watching the depth chart, and if he's a game-time decision, like noted on Thursday, I don't know if I want to take that risk. We'll see what happens there. You did mention that there has been a few changes with the roster. Running back Kalen Laburn has been released, so we're going to see what they're going to do with that running back position. Deontay McMahon had a better performance last week, but you have to think they're going to want more of that running back position and better protection from the offensive line. And I kind of wonder if this is where we're going to see the Elks defensive line finally break through. I've been kind of blown away at some of the sacks that have been shed off of these monsters on the Elks D-line. And they might make it a long night for Nick Arbuckle. And I think they're going to have to start finishing some of those plays and get some sacks under their belt, because they probably should have more than they currently do at this point of the season.
Oh, 100%. Like in the offseason, Cavis Reed went out, or not Cavis Reed, sorry.
There will be consequences, Sheldon. There will be
consequences. Ed Hervey went out.
Elks fans are having PTSD right now.
I know. I always screw them up, and I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Anywho, he went out and he spent so much money on players, and specifically he made that D line just look incredible on paper. And like you say, like they're not getting sacks. Like I think they have like 2 or 3, if that. Like it's for the players you have in there, it's kind of embarrassing, and so they need to be able to do that. And you know, when you have a quarterback who is playing, you know, maybe in some people's opinion a little bit better than they should be, that's a way to disrupt that. Because if they're playing a little bit above their station, let's say, for what we have kind of thought for Arbuckle's kind of ceiling in the past, you know, he's flying confident right now. And if he's able to get hit with some sort of adversity and pressure, then maybe that's a way that Edmonton can kind of continue to, you know, get back, maybe try to get their way back up into the hunt of the crossover spot, maybe for the playoffs.
Now, the Elks offense has looked, I'd say, pretty good since Cody Fajardo came in. And the first 2 games that he played, losses against the Ticats and the Riders, who have basically beaten everybody in the league. They did get a win against the Alouettes last week. And you can pass on the Argos. So we'll see if maybe this is a nice little Stephen Dunbar game on Friday night for the Elks. Are they going to get the running game rolling with Justin Rankin? That guy's a weapon all over the place. And the Elks could get Royce Metier back into the lineup. That would be big for them against his former team in Toronto. Cody Grace is listed as out. I know he's the punter, but man, that play he made, the rain delay, that was against Hamilton, where he recovered his own kick. He's a player. He was a great player for Calgary, and they could have a change at punter for the Elks, and it's not a problem until it is. So maybe that'll be a situation to watch as well.
For sure. Like like you said, he's definitely one of the best punters in the league, and he's able to help flip that field position. And I'm not sure, I don't know off the top of my head, but if he's a holder too, that could cause some issues too, because I know a lot of teams do use the punters as holders. So when you have, you know, someone coming off the bench who's not playing every game and not in those game situations, then if they can get rattled in the game, then that could be a huge turn of events for the Argos.
Friday Night Football, Commonwealth Stadium, an intriguing one between the Elks and the Argos. The Saturday doubleheader starts in Regina. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, 3.5-point favorites over Bo Levi Mitchell and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The over-under at 53.5. This is plain old a heavyweight battle. Bo Levi Mitchell, an MOP threat from the East. Trevor Harris, an MOP threat in the West. There's a couple guys that are battling over that right now. I think, Vernon Adams Jr. by the end of the season will have something to say about that. Nathan Rourke will have something to say about that as well. The BC Lions offense leading the league currently in net offense. So there's some great quarterbacks playing in the West. But either way, 2 veteran quarterbacks going head-to-head. Saturday in Regina. The Riders coming off a bye here. And it feels like the Bombers are selling out games. The Ticats are selling out games. Kind of feels like Rider Nation's starting to have that fire lit under them as well.
Yeah, I think by last count I looked before we got on here, I think less than 2,000 tickets remain. So depending, we still have a few days before the game. So depending on a walk up and the weather and stuff like that, I think realistically it could sell out. And I believe Labor Day is already sold out too. So if that's the case, maybe the Riders are going to start their own streak of sellouts if they can keep winning, maybe.
The deal is here, both teams, they can give up yards.
Yes.
The Riders are pretty good against the run. Not as if that's a big focus of Hamilton's game anyway. With Greg Bell, a lot of times they try to pass to their running back anyway. But the Ticats are giving up over 100 yards a game. And it feels like AJ Ouellette is getting more carries, and after a week off, the teams could be playing a little bit differently when it comes to that style of offense. But the Ticats also giving up, 285 yards a game in passing. The Riders giving up 306 yards a game in passing. It could be a nice day for the QBs on Saturday afternoon.
Well, it absolutely could be, and the other thing that's kind of coming out of this game is this is best on best, like you said. And the last time the Riders are coming off a bye, it was best on best too, and Calgary destroyed them. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Riders are going to be coming off this bye. I hope they learn that lesson, and but yeah, you got that very well worded there, laid out there, because both teams are going to be able to have, I think, their way with the other defense, at least in the middle of the field. I think they might tighten up near the ends. For sure, the Riders will. And yeah, either quarterback, the top receivers, the AJ Ouellette, I think those are all good players to pick for fantasy this week, because I think we're gonna assume that this is gonna be a shootout type of game, and unfortunately, when it's best on best like this, usually the defense, the teams are a little bit timid, I think, when it comes to play calling and not wanting to make the first mistake, and it turns out to be kind of a more low scoring kind of game in the first half. So we'll have to see kind of which kind of game we get, whether it's it's like when Hamilton went to Edmonton and they just went, touchdown for touchdown for touchdown. Hopefully for us in the stands, that's what we get, because that would be fun and exciting. But potentially this game could go many ways, and it's really close for me to call right now.
I had about half a dozen people telling me to delete a tweet I made earlier today. It is regarding CFL Fantasy and the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah.
Keandre Smith is $2,500 right now, which is the lowest price that's possible on the game.
Yeah. And Bell is super expensive too, for some reason.
So I always kind of thought that this was decided by some fancy algorithm and some formula that came out with, spat out the price at the end of it. Yeah. But this feels like a glaring error. And it just makes me wonder if they care. Should he be 12,000? I don't know. But in the last 3 games, 26 catches, 322 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Keandre Smith. And his price has dropped at least 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of trying to figure out what's happening here. There is one more thing I would change about that fantasy game as well, is that they've taken away return yards. So you only score a point if you pick a returner, James Letcher Jr. of the Alouettes. You only get points if he gets a touchdown. None of his yards, even if he has 150 return yards in the game, none of it counts.
Yeah.
I just think if we're going to celebrate our returners and that part of the game, they should get credited for that in the fantasy game And I think that would allow people to pick more players and more ways to score points. But anyway, this $2,500 thing, I don't know, man. It does sound like a mistake.
For sure. Like, these things should, like, fantasy player rankings and prices should be like a power ranking scale instead of like a complete thing. Like, it should, and for the most time it does fluctuate, and players will get more expensive, as you know, the good quarterbacks are all $1,500 or $15,000, right? They're all right and around that. And then the second tier, they're more 12, 12 and a half, 13. Like, so when you have a player playing that good for 3 games in a row, I know he wasn't as great last game, but still, like, when you take those 3 games, like, yeah, he should be at least a $10,000 player right now. And I'm exploiting the heck out of it, because why wouldn't I? But, like, yeah, it is kind of sad too, because like a lot of things, a lot of people like to call out the things that make the CFL kind of look silly sometimes, and we don't like having to do it, but you kind of do, in hopes that eventually, when people hear it enough, that maybe some people will actually start to care and change it. And so we have to be those people that keep pointing stuff out. But CFL, please give a crap about your fantasy. Let us enjoy it more. Like,
I know it makes it more of a
100%.
challenge for us playing it, but
yeah,
it does feel kind of weird.
But there's no reason why you shouldn't get return yards, like you said.
Yeah.
And especially last week when Theis had a return touchdown, and he doesn't get any points for the yards. But he's a running back. Like, there's no reason why he shouldn't get credit for yards. Like, I could understand if they scale those yards, like if they weigh them less
than a rushing yard.
Yeah, because you have more opportunities, I guess, to get return yards. But yeah, there should still be some sort of point for the yards. 100%.
What I will note here is that the Ticats, they're on a bit of a longer week actually, but they're banged up.
A lot of travel too lately.
Johnny Augustine hasn't practiced. I know that Greg Bell's the starter, but Stavros Katsantonis had to leave last game. He's dealing with a calf issue, hasn't practiced this week. Jamal Peters, we know what he can do on the corner. He hasn't practiced this week. And Isaiah Wooden, the returner, got hurt last week, and it doesn't look like he's going to be playing either. I think they carted him off last week with the shoulder issue. So the Cats do come into this game banged up, and if Wooden was on the field, it would give, I think, the Ticats currently a big advantage on special teams with Mario Alford remaining out for the Riders. But this is the breaks, I guess. The Riders coming off the bye relatively healthy. And you don't like to see players hurt, but it is part of the game, and the Ticats do go to Regina a little bit banged up here. But Sheldon, hey, you've seen Bo and the performances he's had at Mosaic Stadium, and I saw him play a few weeks ago in Edmonton. The guy shedding tackles from Jake Serezna, who, like, I wouldn't want to be tackled by. Bo looks like he's 25 years old playing the football of his life, and he's played some pretty good football in Regina before. So I know you have that in the back of your mind. And Kenny the King Lawler has had success against the Riders too, and he's been slow a few weeks. So you have to think that there's got to be another breakout coming soon. Is it this week or is it next week? I don't know, but we can't keep him down forever.
No, but while he does have his excellent performances in Saskatchewan, I can't help but remember a certain one that was fantastic, and former Rider play-by-play announcer Rod Peterson got to yell, "Bo Levi, shut your mouth," when Jerron Carter picked him off for the pick six.
That one was in Calgary, right?
Was it? Oh, yes, you're right.
I think it was, but anyway,
you're
it's
right.
Still Bo.
You're right.
It's still Bo.
It's still Bo, but okay, yeah, you're right. No, that is fair. Yeah, Bo has been playing lights out. He's playing the best football of his career, I think, and that's crazy to say with how he started his career, with how many wins uh, in a row, and then just those first few seasons. Like, but he is. I think he's being really smart with his throws. He's not doing whatever he was early in the season last year when he was throwing all those interceptions, and he kind of got benched a little bit and had to earn his job back. And but he's taking care of the football, and his receivers are helping him out. There's not a lot of drops. They're getting open when other receivers are double covered, and it's kind of a perfect storm playing against the Riders defense when it comes to the amount of passing yards they're giving up. So it's going to be a very interesting to see if Corey Mace is going to play a little bit more aggressive like he has been in the past couple of games, with getting more pressure to the quarterback and kind of, playing a little bit more man and still a lot of zone, but less of the stuff zone, or if he's going to kind of revert back to that and just hope that they can cover everywhere while leaving Bo a bunch of time to throw, which is not going to be a path to success for them, I think. So, uh, I can't wait for this game just because of both teams being so good and riding high. I know Hamilton had a little bit of a loss, and Tim White's going to look to try to bounce back from that fumble he had last week and make up for that. So there's a lot of things are pointing me to the fact this is going to be a good game.
Yeah, both QBs have the ability to just pick apart opposing defenses, especially if they're not going to be pressured, and they can actually get rid of the ball quickly. That's part of what makes Harris and Mitchell what they are right now. I'm just looking at their stats right now. Now, Harris missed a game, so he's played a couple games less than Bo, but he's got 2,183 passing yards through 7 games, 13 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. Bo has played 9 games, so half a season, 2,856 yards. If he stays on that pace, it's going to be a career high in yards. 21 touchdowns against 3 interceptions. Obviously, if he stays on that touchdown pace, it's going to destroy a career high. The interceptions, man, against 3. Yeah. Let's go. Saturday at Mosaic. That's going to be an entertaining CFL football game. And then it brings us to Saturday night at BC Place, where the BC Lions, Sheldon, 7.5-point favorites over the Montreal Alouettes. The over-under at 51.5. I still do think that the Montreal Alouettes are a solid football team. The defense is very solid, albeit banged up lately. But when they're on the field all the time, any defense can start to falter a little bit here. So McLeod Bethel-Thompson is now on the 6-game injured list. One thing to note is that once a veteran has played 8 games, you can't cut them, or you can, but I guess their salary is guaranteed. So there's not really a point to doing that. The Alouettes have brought in Cameron Dukes, who spent the first part of his CFL career, including last year, with the Toronto Argonauts. The Alouettes will be starting Caleb Evans at quarterback at BC Place on Saturday. Some significant moves that the Owls are making behind center.
Yeah, I think you can kind of see that they may be panicking a little bit in Montreal. Off to a great start with Alexander, and then he gets hurt, and it's just been a disaster ever since there. Sad to see about McLeod Bethel-Thompson. I was really hoping he was going to be able to get it back, and it just looks like he's not going to. But I also am excited that they signed Cameron Dukes, because I was really high on Cameron Dukes in Toronto. I thought he looked really promising for as young as he is, and so I'm glad to see him get another shot with a CFL club.
Yeah, I think he was put in obviously a tough spot last year, not much experience in the league, and he did pretty good. And man, he's a tough cookie. Yeah. I've seen the guy take some punishment last year. And Cameron Dukes, I'm glad to see him have another shot in the CFL. Caleb Evans, too. I mean, he had a pretty bad injury a couple of years ago, and he's back onto the field playing for the Owls, and he engineered a pretty good touchdown drive in the second half against the Elks last week. Will he be able to do the same against the BC Lions? The BC Lions have made a few changes, adding a couple familiar names to their practice roster, including Canadian receiver Herji Mayala. He was he in Argo recently? I can't remember, but
so.
he was released. Celestin Haba, the defensive lineman that was recently with a team, now he's with the Lions, and D lineman Anthony Bennett now also on the BC Lions practice roster. So that'll add some depth to that team. But I did say it earlier in the show, the BC Lions leading the Canadian Football League in net offense right now. And they are really moving the ball on the ground. The BC Lions, the only team averaging over 400 yards a game, leading the league in passing, 319 yards a gain, and then leading the league actually in yards on first down, gains per rush, yards per play. Like, they're cooking right now. A big part of that is what they did against the Ticats last week. It definitely helped those averages. And the way James Butler has played, he's looked pretty darn good. And the BC Lions, the rushing game, I know they had Standback recently, but they didn't really commit to it. And maybe that's a bit of the Buck Pierce effect. Jordan Maximic in Edmonton now, and Buck Pierce, great success running the ball in Winnipeg, now the head coach and OC for the BC Lions, and James Butler has to be pretty happy with that arrangement at this point.
Yeah, he's been going off, and I know he's had a little bit of extra motivation the past few games against the Ticats, but now he's got motivation just to keep it going because like you said, they're actually using him. And, running backs, they would run the ball every single play if you could give it to them, because when they are in a zone and they're able to get, 5, 6, 7 yards every play, like they just go up to another level. And I know that the offensive line loves run block way more than pass block. So if you're able to get that going in the CFL, and you're going to have a really good time on offense. So, I do look for BC to establish that early on, and then it just leaves the passing wide open, because you can make those corners and those halfbacks bite on the faking of the runnings.
Well, and the BC Lions have actually given up the least sacks in the CFL. Mm-hmm. A big part of that, probably James Butler. Teams having to respect that. Also, Nathan Rourke, like the guy he's probably one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league to sack. He can run. He can do all that sort of stuff as well. So the BC Lions offense, it's a nice little matchup here against the Owls defense, because Isaac Adiemi Berglund leading the league in sacks against the team that's been the best against the pass rush so far in 2025. It does feel like the Lions are a team poised to explode a little bit. At least, that offense. It seems Rourke is getting more and more comfortable every week. And this could be a nice one for them to gain some ground in the West.
For sure. And especially with kind of Winnipeg struggling a little bit. Like, if Ottawa is able to go in there and knock off the Bombers, and BC is able to do what they should do and beat Montreal, like that's huge for them, because right now kind of looks like the third place is up for grabs between Winnipeg and BC. Like, if things ended today, that's kind of the close matchup there. So but like Buck Pierce has so many weapons to use in his offense, and Nathan Rourke has, Katoy, he has McInnes, he has Berryhill, he has Everhart, who's, kind of come on the radar a little bit more this season. And so,
And Keon Hatcher leads the league in targets right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they have 5 bona fide wide receivers that are able to get the ball, and with Butler just being able to run like a tank, they certainly have the recipe of success to continue leading the league in all those offensive categories.
Now, let's look at this practice report for the Montreal Alouettes. They're actually only going to get one practice.
Yeah, they canceled practice today, which is weird.
I guess it was due to weather. We actually don't even have an injury report for the Montreal Alouettes at this point. It does feel like this is a tall mountain to climb for them. Sean Thomas Erlington wasn't able to play, or he left the game last week, so we'll see who's going to start at running back. It might be Travis Tice getting the start. There's another $2,500 option in CFL Fantasy. If he's going to start, then hey, that's pretty good value there. I do think you can run on the BC Lions, averaged 114 yards against on the ground. So I think with your backup quarterback for the Alouettes, probably not have a flashy game. Just try to escape the West Coast with a win by any means necessary. Who cares if it's ugly? Just try to make it happen somehow.
Yeah, but that's kind of going to go against Jason Mott. Like, he doesn't run the ball as much. So I think he's going to have to this game. Like, he's going to have to change his philosophy with how he calls games, because like you said, Caleb Evans, he's had a few starts here and there with teams. It hasn't gone great, if we're being honest. He's right now, like, it's not even like he was penciled in to be their backup quarterback at the beginning of the year. He was just their short yardage guy. And that's kind of been the only thing that he's really succeeded at, I guess, so far in his CFL career. So huge opportunity for him. He has one of the best one of the best, offensive coaches, I think. When Jason Moss is on with his game calling, I think he's on, and he seems to somehow do it in spite of not having a great rushing attack. So, stranger things have happened, but they need to be very vanilla. They need to just do their assignments and march down the field and just keep the ball away from Nathan Rourke and the BC Lions. That's the only way they're going to get out. They need to take the ball away from him, and they need to keep the ball away from him.
Tyler Snead has 3 straight games with 7 receptions, so he's the number 1 target in that Al's offense. Another note, Alexander Hollins making his return to the West Coast as a member of the Montreal Alouettes. He's had several good games with BC in the past. I wonder if he'll be able to go to Cactus Club and have some Bellinis. With his old teammates. After this one. That's week 11 in the CFL. Now I want to go a little bit out of order than we normally do here, Sheldon. Let's go with our pick 'em for week 11 before we get to your power rankings. Week 11 of the 2025 CFL season starts in Winnipeg. The Bombers 5.5-point favorites over the Ottawa RedBlacks. Friday night football in Edmonton as the Elks 3-point favorites over the Argos. The Riders on Saturday 3.5-point favorites over the Ticats, and the Leos 7.5-point favorites over the Als, also on Saturday in Vancouver. Sheldon, I reluctantly lock in the RedBlacks, the Elks, the Riders, and the Lions. Who do you got?
I am very similar to you, but I'm going all home teams. So the Bombers, Elks, Riders, Lions.
All right, let us know in the comments who you think are going to be winning the games in Week 11 of the CFL season. Now, Sheldon, let's throw up the graphic here. I asked for your picks first because I want to see you're taking the home teams. But That means that you're picking the number one team in your power rankings to lose. Here we go.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm not going to move the Riders up on a bye just because Hamilton lost a game in overtime because, Tim White tried to be a little cute instead of just going down. So, my top 4 teams stay the same: Hamilton, Saskatchewan, Calgary, and Winnipeg. But in the bottom, everyone moved up one except for the Alouettes. So BC's up, RedBlacks are 6, Elks are 7, Toronto is 8, and then the Alouettes are unfortunately in the bottom. And that may seem drastic, but I agree with what you said before, that they still are a good team. They still do have good coaching. They have good player personnel. It's just it seems right now that they're kind of a team not unlike Calgary, where it's live and die with your quarterback. They just don't have the suitable backup that is going to be able to, I think, take them anywhere. So until that changes, they may stay near the bottom of these rankings until Alexander gets back.
Brian from BC Lions Den saying one day you'll move the Lions past the Bombers. One day.
One day.
It could be this week.
And Vic or whoever says that I finally put the Riders in top spot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Riders have never been, or they haven't been in top spot for 4 weeks, so ridiculous, disgusting, outrageous, lying.
It's been quiet on Twitter. Don't start it up again.
Very quiet. Why is it so quiet?
I wonder why.
Sometimes employers say things, I assume.
The CFL Podcast Fantasy League, Sheldon. This week I've got Adam from Canadian Football Countdown. I try to ignore the standings. But
I happily ignore the standings.
Adam, he's up there in 6th place, 6-4. I'm down in 14th place. 4-6, but I'm making some moves. You, Sheldon, you're going to be taking on Andrew from the Turf District. 11th and 12th in the standings, both 5-5 in the CFL Podcast Fantasy League. So this game could break a deadlock, or I guess it could be a tie.
It could be. I think both of us are still not making the playoffs. So, but you're going down, Andrew, except you're going to win, so congrats.
This is the most Canadian, trash talk ever.
I know.
Congrats in advance.
Yeah. Congrats in advance, Andrew from Turf District.
Okay. I'm so anxious about my lineup.
Okay, let me go first, though.
Okay.
I'm going to go first as soon as I get it here. I have Bo Levi Mitchell as my quarterback and captain.
Is that 6 weeks in a row?
I think so. I have James Butler and William Stanback as my running backs. I have the value pick of Keandre Smith and Barry Hill III as my wide receivers. And in my Nealon flex position, Kenny the King Lawler. And I have the BC Lions defense as well.
All right, I'm going with the BC Lions defense against Caleb Evans and the Montreal Alouettes, $3,500 on fantasy. Okay.
How is that?
That's also... Watch Caleb Evans pop 6 TDs on the Lions. You never know. Drew Brown's my quarterback. I don't know. Hopefully he can have a few touchdowns against the Bombers. Okay, so Drew Brown... Lots riding on that Thursday game for me because I'm going Brady Oliveira as my running back. Travis Tice, I am banking on him starting for the Als in Vancouver, $2,500. So he is the value pick I'm going with. I'm pairing up Drew Brown with Geno Lewis. I expect them to test that young Bombers secondary with number 87. I'm going with Keyshawn Johnson of the Riders, DeMonte Coxey of the Argos, and that BC Lions defense. That is the elusive $0 lineup I came up with in week 11, which means it will score probably 58.3 points and crush my confidence again.
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. I got to hang on to first place, man, in the Patron Fantasy League. I got a little bit of a cushion there right now. If you would like to support Two and Out on Patreon, go to twoandout.ca and check out our different links there. You can rate, review, and subscribe to the show on any podcatcher and YouTube. I want to note, the Western Canadian Baseball League final starts tomorrow. My Sylvan Lake Gulls against Sheldon's Regina Red Sox. That's pretty sweet. That starts on Thursday. Enjoy week 11 of the season.
The Two and Out CFL podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Travis Currah and co-hosted by Sheldon Jones. Subscribe to Two and Out on all major podcast platforms and YouTube to keep up to date with future shows.